Howdy. So just a heads up, I have a very unpopular opinion on this episode. I think it's aged horribly, and I think it's one of the unspoken worst Simpsons episodes. But you're certainly not alone if you disagree with me, as a general consensus is this episode's fine. In fact, Al Jean stated in this episode's commentary that it won an Emmy for Animated Program's second season.
Which won the Emmy for Animated Program our second season.
And the episode gets an 8 out of 10 on IMDb with a ton of very high praise, somehow. Strangely though, I always find this weird radio silence on this episode. It's from Season 2, 1991, but we talk about other Season 2 episodes, why not this one? Bart gets an F, Dancing Homer, Bart the Daredevil is sure remembered with Springfield Gorge. But I first saw this shocker of an episode 30 years ago, and even then it bothered me. So let's discuss Homer versus Lisa and the 8th Commandment. Whopper of a title. Originally it was just Homer versus the 8th Commandment, but they added Lisa into the title because, at the time, having Lisa in the title made it more popular. I know, times have changed. Anyway, you see, I feel there's a lot wrong with it. I think the message is weak, the jokes are almost non-existent, the writing is subpar, particularly compared to the rest of Season 2. It just feels kinda wrong and crappy to me. In case you'd like a refresher on the episode, Homer meets a guy who rewires the cables to give people free cable for $50, which is about $116 today. Lisa is told at Sunday school that any stealing will get her burning in hell for all eternity.
You'll be tormented day and night forever and ever. As a matter of fact, if you actually saw hell, you'd be so frightened you would die.
Having gone to Sunday school as a child, I can attest this is accurate. But given what she was just told, she's understandably terrified. So knowing the Lisa we have now, it would be in character for Lisa to maybe seek advice from a teacher, a judge, a doctor, maybe a scientist. But instead, for some reason, she seeks advice from Reverend Lovejoy. To be fair, his advice is relatively balanced and decent. He advises to take no part in it, though Lisa originally suggested to have her dad arrested.
Should I have my father arrested?
Well, Lisa, on the surface that would appear to be an ideal solution to the problem, but remember the 5th commandment.
At first this seemed harsh to me. Someone pointed out to me though, Homer steals junk constantly. Why is anyone in his family surprised that he's just stolen cable? I mean, half the crap he owns is stolen from Flanders. This is like the least of his crimes.
Now, Homer, we can't have you burglarizing us every time you got a bill to pay.
Are they seriously claiming that the cable company needs the money more than Flanders? Why is this suddenly such a big deal?
Ned must be desperate.
I think this is part of what makes it all feel so contrived and out of character. Though maybe in Season 2 it was rarer to see Homer steal all the time? Anyway, off topic. In the end, Lisa tells her dad that she's stealing and refuses to take part in watching stolen cable.
I think stealing cable is wrong, so I'm choosing not to watch it in the hope that others will follow my example. Dad, why is the world such a cesspool of corruption?
Again, are you really that shocked? How is this the first time you've had a moral conundrum about it? Anyway.
Got him, Dad!
This leads to the entire family sitting outside their own house in misery as their friends have a great time.
Sorry, I'd rather go to heaven.
Marge even says that the cable TV has become an evil presence in their home.
Cable has become an evil presence in our home.
Marge?
I mean, this extreme focus on Christian-believed rewards in the afterlife sounds to me a lot more like we're listening to the Flanders instead of the Simpsons.
Accept your soul!
What's gotten into Lisa?
Because this stolen cable is the main focus of like the whole episode. But hey, maybe the episode's funny. Simpsons Season 2 wasn't as focused on jokes, but it certainly has its laughs. But in this episode I cited 2 jokes maybe, and I only laughed at 1, which I'll get to later, as it is pretty memorable. But I think this also has to do with the time period of 1991 when the episode was made. The Season 2 episode didn't age as well because in 1991, it was more socially acceptable to focus an entire episode on the Christian Bible teachings. I think if this episode was made in 2025, The Simpsons would have acknowledged both the Christian side, but also the side of Buddhism, Taoism, or maybe even Shintoism in Japan. But I want to be honest with you with what bothered me most about this episode. A kid like Lisa didn't agree to go to church or make this her primary religion.
Maggots are your sheet, worms your blanket. There's a lake of fire burning with sulfur.
She was threatened with burning eternally in hell if she didn't follow the Christian 10 Commandments. And this was at a very young, impressionable age for Lisa. when she can't really consent to that threat. Kids at 8 years old don't yet have the capacity to evaluate religious ideas, let alone as huge a concept as an afterlife. Lisa just has to believe it because she's a kid and she hasn't yet developed critical thinking skills. That being said, I think if Marge had told Lisa when she's 18 years old that she'd burn in hell if she stole, fine, not the best way to bond with your daughter, but whatever. But when Marge or her Sunday school tells Lisa this'll happen at 8 years old, well, Lisa hasn't yet developed the defense or rational thinking to defend against that claim. And we end up with scenes like this. All because her mum stole 2 grapes. But I think there is an example of this episode being done well 6 years later in 1997. In the 9th season, Lisa discovers a fossil that looks like an angel, and Springfield, being predominantly Christian, thinks it's a message from the Christian God.
An angel?
Well, obviously that's impossible.
Lisa's right, it's an angel!
Not only does the episode actually have jokes, like a lot, and they're really funny, it uses these jokes to slowly work us into Lisa and Marge's spiritual conundrums with a laugh. It sugars the pill of these deep concepts we're talking about, and it offers us a glimpse at both a religious and a non-religious perspective on how they handle the unknown. Marge and most of the town seem to think this is an angel from the Christian afterlife. Lisa asks, okay, but what if it isn't? And what if there's no such thing as angels?
Just let me take you to the museum for one day. They can do scientific tests and prove it's not an angel.
She asks for scientific evidence for why they believe this fossil is that, but Marge mostly seems to be acting on faith and really believes in her religion and really wants Lisa to go to heaven.
Everyone needs something to believe in.
Both Lisa and Marge represent 2 perspectives, as opposed to the 2nd season episode Lisa versus the 8th Amendment, which only gives the one perspective, heavily based within the religion with no outside perspective.
If you believe in angels, then why not unicorns or sea monsters or leprechauns?
Lisa's actually doing what many people would do. When you make an outstanding claim like an angel, she asks for some basic scientific evidence. She takes a bit of the fossil and tries to get some DNA evidence. Yeah, she's a bit loud in her opinion, and she definitely could have been gentler with it, but she's dealing with Springfield, and they're not really known for listening to a gentle approach.
Well, I say there are some things we don't want to know.
But in regards to the 2nd season episode that I think has just aged terribly, Homer versus Lisa and the 8th Commandment, the weirdest part for my practical brain is the end of the episode. Everyone is inside having fun watching the game, and the Simpsons are sitting outside because if she socializes at the party, she's terrified she'll suffer for all eternity because of her religion.
I just want to call attention to the fact that I'm not watching this fight.
There's a part of this that feels a little wrong to me. Lisa's not doing the right thing here because she cares about other people. She's doing the right thing because she's scared and under threat. On this point, I would like to quickly share with you something personal. It's what got me first thinking about this episode, and it's something strange. About a week ago, I opened up one of my old grade 8 textbooks, and I found in my own writing, the school had me write down some really alarming and horrible lines. I'm not even going to say them on microphone because I don't want to be thrown out of context ever on this. So if you've got me running in the background window, well, take a look for yourself if you want. When I read that I once wrote these lines from a teacher and the school board, I literally said out loud, "What the fuck?" I felt repulsed, but I also recognized I was just a kid. In fact, I was Lisa's age. And like Lisa, I never consented to joining a religion. I never consented to having these very concerning beliefs forced upon me. Thanks for humoring me. I felt at least a little consoled that since then I've run charities to raise money for the LGBTQIA+ community. So I guess my basic rational thinking and human empathy won out in the end, but this is a similar situation to what was happening to Lisa in childhood too. This episode kinda makes me wonder if this was part of why Lisa eventually decided to leave Christianity and join Buddhism in season 13, She of Little Faith.
I'm a Buddhist!
And if we look in season 9, we have the previously spoken about Lisa the Skeptic. I call this character growth. For people who say Lisa has no character development, well, I would put to you this change in her spiritual beliefs. That being said, and much later in recent years, Lisa indicated she seems to once again believe in heaven in the season 29 episode, Lisa Gets the Blues.
May I ask you, how are
bad things in heaven.
Again, didn't we do an entire episode on her converting to Buddhism in season 13? Either Lisa's beliefs have shifted yet again, or the current writers will abandon well-known character traits if it means fitting in dumb jokes about reefer in heaven. Honestly, I'd believe either. But I should make it clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with an episode about stealing cable being wrong. Obviously, that's fine. But crazy thought, what if Lisa, instead of doing the right thing out of fear of burning in hell, she instead does the right thing out of compassion? Crazy, I know. For example, maybe Lisa instead says,
"Hey, stealing cable is wrong, and someone may lose their job in the cable company because you're not paying that monthly fee."
cool, I could potentially even deal with the family all sitting outside in their own home like idiots because of this. The difference you would make here, though, is you're not teaching kids to do the right thing out of threats from their religion. You're teaching them to do the right thing because it feels good. And in my opinion, that's the absolute best reason for anyone to do the right thing. Maybe you can even have the family sitting outside and a cable guy walks by Lisa. Maybe he waves and gives Lisa a smile. She then decides to do the right thing because she cares about other people. Maybe she doesn't want the guy to lose his job. Yeah, it's not incredibly nuanced, but it seems a little more complicated than steal cable and you'll burn in hell according to Christianity. Who knows, if this had happened instead, Marge might have even managed to keep Lisa in Christianity in season 13.
What grown person could believe in angels?
Well, your mother, for one.
For better or for worse, Lisa's often known for making good moral decisions based on rational thinking and empathy for other people and sometimes animals. But here, she's not making a moral decision based on her care for others. It's based purely on her terror of punishment. One critic of the episode wrote an entire book called The Gospel According to the Simpsons, and he was a big fan of this episode. Plinsky wrote in his review that this episode had the structure of an exquisitely crafted 22-minute sermon. And yeah, it felt that way to me too. Maybe without the exquisite part. For a long time, I wondered if I was weird for disliking this episode. No one ever talks about it, no one ever says it's bad. My wife Nin loved Simpsons growing up. I asked her if she remembered the episode, and surprisingly she did remember. The main scene she remembered was Marge eating 2 grapes at the grocery store and Lisa's explosion at her. They do lampshade the insanity of this when Marge asks them to charge her for 2 grapes.
I need a price check on 2 grapes. Yeah, you heard me, Phil. 2 measly stinking grapes.
But to be fair, Lisa is just following what she was taught in the 8th commandment in the Bible. There's certainly no biblical verse saying Marge wouldn't go to hell for those 2 grapes. She's still stealing. There's certainly no commandment saying, thou must use nuance and rational thinking to consider if the crime is worth eternal suffering. All it is just, don't steal or you're stuffed. Nin said that at the time, the grape scene was the breaking point for her in this episode. And I get it, but in the 90s, I don't think any of us even noticed this stuff. It was just so normal then for Christianity to be so deeply entrenched into popular culture. We didn't call it the Christian God, we just called him God. But if someone isn't Christian, this episode must have felt really weird. It must have been frustrating for Buddhists, Hindus, Shintoists, atheists, and humanists, or any other religion apart from Christianity. But I grew up Christian, so I was one of those people who didn't even notice at the time. I didn't become an atheist till my teen years after I read the Bible, and I didn't become a secular humanist till my 20s. You get the idea, but out of curiosity, how do the other morals of this episode stand up? Well, one of the other most well-known commandments is,
It's thou shalt not, covet.
Thou shalt not commit adultery. So the Simpsons do point this one out.
Hey, good evening, Zohar the adulterer. My wife sends her warmest regard.
But we're in an age where key parties have been a social norm since the 1970s, and polygamous relationships are relatively common. So does this commandment even age that well? I guess it depends on your definition of adultery. I'm monogamous myself, and that doesn't mean I tell people who aren't that they're going to burn in hell or they're breaking the 10 Commandments. Later in the episode, Reverend Lovejoy refers to the commandment, honor thy father and thy mother.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
And that's fine if someone has a family that treats them with love and respect. But realistically, and sadly, that's not always the case. What about victims abused by their family or people rejected by their family for who they are? One study found 1/3 of LGBTQIA+ people have suffered abuse from parents. Wouldn't this commandment mean that the victims have to honor their parents anyway, otherwise the victims will burn? It just seems like there's problems for telling kids this stuff without some nuance or critical thinking. You know another scene that surprised me? It's a bit of a nitpick, but that scene where Flanders is screaming at the guy offering him free cable to get out.
I should box your ears, you sneaky Pete!
I mean, Flanders, is it really worth yelling at someone? You rarely yell at Homer for doing much worse than this. Why didn't the normally nicest guy in Springfield just politely refuse? Yes, it's not legal, but does he also yell at jaywalkers? Does he yell at shoplifters down the mall? He's pretty polite to everyone at the Leftorium, and people are stealing his crap all the time. He even gives them free parking tickets anyway.
Stamping ticket.
Okay.
Then they show the same guy apparently breaking into Homer's home, then saying he's going to break into Flanders' home and steal his stuff.
Well, maybe I'll go see your neighbor.
He's not home.
Even better.
I just find this such a clumsy, bludgeon-over-the-head approach to make the guy look worthy of contempt. The guy who hooked up the cable couldn't just be a dude. No, he has to be mustache-twirlingly evil because, ooh, he helped Homer steal cable. And as if my unpopular opinion wasn't unpopular enough already, I actually even think the Simpsons clip shows have some positives compared to this episode. Yes, I understand you unsubscribing. And okay, sure, the Simpsons clip shows are bad, but at least they show us a variety of different settings from different episodes. The vast majority of this Thou Shall Not Steal episode is just the characters watching trashy TV. There's so few noticeable jokes. There was the putting my foot down scene, but is that even classified as a joke? I guess Bart selling the adult channel to other kids was a sort of joke scene, but these background characters really needed some work. Look at this mess. Ralph's face here is nightmare material. And even then, this whole scene just seems to be there to help try and imply more that stolen cable is evil. Maybe Marge and Homer could just use parental controls? Or is the cable evil because it doesn't have parental control? I don't know. Besides, wouldn't this scene mean that paid cable is evil too? Clearly Marge and Homer aren't bothering to use parental controls, so Bart can still access the adult channel on paid cable. The only kind of funny joke I could actually find was the mechanical bull line from Moe. And to be fair, that is a joke I still remember and smirk at.
It was either cable or the mechanical bull.
I love even more that he stood by his decision.
I made my choice and I stand by it.
The other kinda cute joke was when Homer's stolen all that stuff from work. But you know what's also stolen at work from employees that's worth millions of dollars a year? Unpaid overtime. Maybe we can do a joke about that next and balance out the message with a bit of that dreaded nuance. And why is this cable party so huge anyway? Look at this, like half of Springfield is here. Is there really no one in Springfield who actually buys cable? At first I thought I was maybe making a good point with this, but Al Jean also points this out in the episode's commentary. And honestly, really good commentary. They actually point out more absurdity in this episode than I do.
I also used to wonder just how poor is Springfield where no one else in town can afford cable television.
But maybe you're thinking, oh, it's season 2, they're all outdated. And at first I thought that, but think back to other episodes from season 2. Episode 1 of season 2 is Bart Gets an F, and it's one of the best episodes of the whole show. How about Simpson and Delilah? It's that one where Homer gets the hair growing formula and excels at work. Yeah, maybe it's not amazing, but we do get to meet that really cool secretary Carl. One of the very first depictions of a gay character in animation history. The next season 2 episode was the very first Treehouse of Horror. Bad Dream House, Hungry of the Damned? Obviously this is another classic. The next episode was 2 cars in every garage and 3 eyes on every fish. Honestly, I forgot how many good episodes there were in season 2, because this is the one where Mr. Burns first shows us a human side and joins politics. And dang, the next season 2 episode was Dancing Homer. That confidence Homer shows, and watching him dance all around the stadium was really memorable. Dead Putting Society was next. And yeah, Homer's a jerk, but we also get a nice moral about kids setting their parents' grievances aside and not letting it affect who they are. With a fun conclusion of Homer and Flanders cross-dressing. Bart vs. Thanksgiving certainly wasn't my favorite, but it's okay. I find it a little awkward, but it also feels very slice of life to me. I certainly enjoy it a lot more than the Cable episode. What about Bart the Daredevil? That was season 2. Springfield Gorge alone makes the episode memorable. Itchy and Scratchy and Marge was next. I thought that was season 6. This is the episode where Marge bans cartoon violence. How memorable was that? And the moral had some actual nuance when Marge is confronted with adult content used in traditional art. I could keep going, but do you honestly remember anything even slightly close to as memorable as these in Homer versus Lisa and the Eighth Commandment? Again, apart from Moe's Bull Rider, he stands by his decision. At the end of the day, I'm criticizing an episode from 35 years ago, so it does run the risk of being a little old-fashioned. But as you can see, many of these early episodes are put on a pedestal, and rightly so. I just don't get how the Cable episode is put on that same pedestal. Do you think it deserves to be on the same pedestal? Why so? Honestly, I'd be fine if the judge just got to carry out this court order. I promise I'd never talk about this subject again.
Religion must stay 500 yards from science at all times.
Anyway, feel free to let me know your opinion. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Before we get to the shout out, I actually wanted to say thank you to those who fully heard me out on this video. Based on a poll I did, I understand about 52% of my community believes in their religion's supernatural god. And even if we don't respect each other's religion of choice, I want to make it clear I still respect you as a person. With that said, thanks to the patrons and members who keep me making these videos. I get real mad at myself for how slow I make these videos, particularly when I see how fast some of my fellow YouTube peers are. Lydia runs circles around me nowadays, and she has a kid. It's crazy. But my patrons, they're always patient with me, and I'm really thankful for that. Mentally has been a struggle for me lately, and you've kept me able to do this, and thank you so much. And an extra thanks to these patrons here: Anna Jones, Orstismic, Angel Angeline, 3 Cat Day, The Furry of Fury, Cookie Monster. You may notice I sound a bit crackly in the throat. It's because I had yet another cold. How many colds have I had this year? Shockwave FPS Studios, Miss Arceus, Joseph Bowers, Jordan McCann, Chandler Amethyst, Megan Bruns, The Hug Wizard, Rayan Graves, Saturn Yoshi, William Johnson, Dassin, IndyCore 2, Joe Ferry, Mewtwo Shadow FNAF Girl, Checkered Omega, and Handpan. Welcome.